Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town of Monroe Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for January 22nd, 2019. At this time, I'd like to, this is the first meeting of the new year. I'd like to thank all the board members for signing up for this for another couple of years. We appreciate your work. I'd also like to thank all the board members for their confidence in me and, appointing me the chairman. So this is a new job for me starting here tonight. I hope I pull it off well.
I'm sure you will be great.
So with those open remarks, I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, roll call.
Robert O'Neill.
Here.
Seth Bader.
Here.
Michael Murphy.
Here.
Peter Lewis.
Here.
And we have a new member, Kevin Scully.
Here. Welcome, Kevin.
Welcome, Kevin.
Welcome, Kevin.
Okay. So, may as well just get rolling right into the agenda here. Okay, so I guess the first matter of business here is pointing out all the fire exits. I believe there's exits in the room behind us and of course out through the front door and out to the parking lot. Should there be a need to do so, we'll all gather in the parking lot and under emergency circumstances and make sure everybody's accounted for. Is there also another
Yes.
emergency exit down the back hall? Okay.
I can do 104 if you want.
Okay, if you would.
Okay, so tonight is a ZBA reorganization, January 22nd. Michael Murphy is now a full board member versus an alternate from last year. Excuse me. Peter Lewis is now a full board member. Michael Murphy is now our chairman for the year 2019. And Kevin Scully has been appointed by the town board as a new ZBA member. Excuse me. There are no alternates as of now. And welcome everyone.
Okay. So with all of that out of the way, the first item on the agenda is the appointment of an acting chairman. In the event that I can't attend the meeting, we need to have an acting chairman. I open that up to discussion for the board members.
I think in the past, I think Seth served as the interim at one point. Is that correct?
Only on easy agendas.
Okay.
I have full confidence in you.
I have no problem doing it again. Yeah.
Okay, so,
Yeah,
any other discussions on the matter? I put it to the board for approval.
Maybe call for a motion.
Call for motion.
Anybody care to move to appoint
I-
Member Bader as the acting chairman?
I move to appoint Seth Bader as acting chairman in Mike's absence.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Do I vote for myself? Aye.
You can.
You're outvoted.
Abstain.
Either way.
Well, congratulations, Seth, you're acting chairman. All right.
Renewing the town attorney or the ZBA attorney.
Okay, next order of business is renewal of the ZBA attorney.
So we'd like a motion to have Dave be the ZBA attorney again, so someone needs to make that motion.
I'll make the motion to have Dave sit as acting attorney for the ZBA, right?
I'll second that.
All-
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Motion carried.
In the packet is the calendar for next year you have to approve.
Meeting schedule.
Couldn't
Okay,
be
the meeting
approved
schedule.
last year.
There we go. All right, in the packet, everybody received the meeting schedule for next year.
Yep.
What, the fourth Tuesday of the month?
Yes.
2000.
Okay, so it's the fourth Tuesday of the month generally. The entire year is laid out here, January through November. No meeting in December as usual. The meetings, of course, will be held here at the Senior Center, and the meetings will be starting at the usual time, 7:30 PM, and running as long as it takes to get through the agenda. Is everybody okay with the meeting schedule as proposed?
Yeah, no conflicts.
No conflicts?
Is there at some point going to move to the new
Yes,
building?
when the time is right, the board meetings will be moved over to the town hall when it is finished.
Is that anticipated to be this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, good news.
I don't know when. That's why I wasn't saying.
Okay, that's even closer to my house.
So I need a motion to approve this meetings.
Okay, call for a motion to approve the meeting dates for 2019.
I move we approve the meeting date schedule as listed on this piece of paper for 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried. Okay.
Now all reorg is done.
That was easy.
Well, that was easy. We can have this in advance.
But this is very efficient with micro and things.
Okay. Okay, approval of 2019 meeting schedule, done. Okay, so the first and only item that we have on the agenda as far as applicants go is the Gomez application for an accessory apartment. I'd like to welcome the consultant for the Gomez application to approach the board. Okay. Good evening, Dave.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Dave.
I'm back,
Welcome.
hopefully with better results. So, we have before you an application by the Gomez's for renovation or accessory apartment in their home. We've been before the planning board on and off since March of last year, March or April of last year, and have satisfied many of their comments. And then at the final stage, they had thought that this needed to be referred to the zoning board. So I believe I'm sure you all received a letter of reference outlining the two variances that we're asking for. This is in an RR1 zone, which is a 1-acre zone, which many houses are in. And since the zoning code had changed in January, now it enforces a 43,560 square foot area for a 1-acre zone. So the first variance that we're asking for is an area variance. The existing lot is 40,779 square feet. It's been in existence. It can't change. It was a pre-existing, well, since your code changed, it's pre-existing non-conforming condition. But yet the house has existed on it for many years. It has a C of O. The house footprint is not changing, and we'll continue with that thought later. The second variance that we're asking for is another area variance, and it's the lot coverage. We have a lot coverage of 18%, where the zoning code requires 15%. And basically, that 3% difference is in the driveway. Since we increased the driveway to comply with the code for the amount of cars that are needed for this accessory apartment, it added 3% of lot coverage to that existing condition. So We're requesting of you an approval of these two variances. We feel that they're minor in nature. They are a pre-existing non-conforming condition, even though the attorney's letter said it's not protected for the accessory apartment. I just want to remind the board that this condition did recently change in your zoning code through no fault of the owner, and no doubt there are many conditions or houses in this area that would have the same condition. Again, I would like to remind the board, it is an accessory apartment, it's not a two-family. This is for immediate family to live there. It's a byproduct of the needs, of a family, of the economy, and so we're asking for that relief. The character of the house complies with the neighborhood. We're not changing the exterior of the house at all. There's no detrimental effect to the surrounding neighbors or neighborhood. In fact, it will continue to function as is. We confirm that the septic field will be able to handle the additional minimal load, and there's no other impacts or negative impacts that would apply. So we ask that the board consider this. Please grant us the two variances so that we can continue. As I mentioned, this has been a process for quite a while, so in retrospect, it might have been good if we were here earlier, but we weren't referred to, so please consider this.
What's the process that's been, is this new to us? This is new business,
right.
correct?
Yes.
So the building there, the reason it's coming to us is because of the variances, but what's the reason it was brought for, because the house is existing and the...
Yes, so we went to the planning board, I believe it was March, April of last year,
Oh.
made application for an accessory apartment. The, not every, we didn't meet with them in consecutive months. There were things that needed to be addressed that wouldn't allow us to do so. We had waited for definitions, interpretations from the building department and from others, but through the 8 months or so, we worked through that process. We got the 239 referrals back, and at that last meeting, the planning board said, well, we should refer this to the zoning.
But was that accessory house, is this accessory housing new to that structure, or was it always existing as an accessory house?
It's new and existing.
Okay.
Okay, so it's there.
Right.
It's constructed, and they're trying to get permission or approval for it.
Right, but it's already, the accessory housing portion of it's already built out, and it's...
Correct.
It's there.
Correct.
So from the planning board, were you trying to get is there a CO required for that accessory apartment?
Oh, no, yes,
Okay.
yes. We would have to apply for a certificate of occupancy
Okay.
for that
Okay.
accessory apartment.
Right, so that's really the process, and through all that, somebody looked at it and said, oh, by the way, besides all these other hoops you've been jumping through, this lot, even if this wasn't an accessory apartment, if this was just a house, a new house, you'd be in front of us because you need these area variances, just by virtue of the footprint of the house. It doesn't conform because of
Oh, I think,
new zoning, is that
David,
right?
correct me if I'm, it's because of is the parking space, are those parking spaces currently in place? Right, because I think the lot coverage, the footprint of the house is not changing.
Right, that's what I was wondering.
The lot coverage
Yeah.
is changing
Yeah.
because I think this proposed asphalt area,
Okay,
because this is a requirement of an accessory apartment. So, and I don't have it with me. Maybe David, you prepared it, but the code regarding the number of parking spaces allotted per accessory.
Yeah, you need 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit in a residential unit. So if they've got 2 dwelling units, they need 4 spaces, which Dave has indicated on the map. So Dave, all that you're adding in terms of pavement is the 200, or the 20-foot by 20-foot addition to the driveway?
Yes.
So that's 400 square feet. So what drives it up, 3% over the impervious area? I guess a lot of that already existed.
Yeah, well, our only impact on the land is the 400 square feet.
Right, because
1%.
because when the code changed, the lot coverage changed with it, I believe, right?
Did it change from including impervious pavement to, I don't know, or not? I'm not sure.
Because the 18%.
Yeah, I don't see where that 3% is coming from. It looks like 1%.
Right.
No, it's 1%.
So
on
the structure of the
additional-
house, according to the code now, is close to 17%, I think, right?
Yeah, because I mean, what you're adding is only about 1% of the lot area.
Right.
So the existing house with the original driveway, walkway, and patio was already a couple of percentage over
Right.
the minimum lot coverage.
Right, that's what I was trying to get to, is that just by virtue of the zoning changes, this is not conforming besides adding to the parking lot.
Right,
Right. Okay.
right. Taking the parking lot out, it's basically 17%,
Right.
so it'd be 2% over. Is that parking
1%
area?
over. Oh, the existing conditions make it 2% over.
Right. The
Our
proposal of the
impact
additional
the 20
makes
by
it
20
3%.
makes it
Right.
another percent, or a total of 3%.
And is that is that been done, or is that proposed to be done?
It has not been done.
Okay.
Oh, that's a change of pace.
Exactly.
Ain't that the truth?
Give me a little more time, you know, we'll get it done.
Do you think that additional parking area changes, because the neighborhood's about 4 or 5 houses?
In that cul-de-sac?
Yeah, I mean, does that change, when you say it doesn't change the appearance, but does it, with the addition of that, does it then change the appearance of having like more of like a parking lot look to the property?
Oh, not at all. I mean, quite honestly, the 4 cars could park in sequence along the driveway.
I was trying to figure out what's the requirement for that additional pad there. If it looks like, by rough sketch, that the 4 cars could fit in the driveway as it stands.
Yes,
Functionality.
however, from previous projects, I learned that the board appreciates having the extra space for the 2 extra cars. That's required by the code. Whether or not the family will have 2 extra cars, I doubt. However, to satisfy the zoning code, we have to provide it. Quite frankly, the 4 cars could park right along the driveway. It's not an issue. And if you see fit to preclude the additional asphalt area, we have no problem with that.
But that's all, so that's getting at 2 different things. I guess the
Yeah.
planning boards they're requiring that, right?
It's part of your
Forgetting
zoning-
about the
yeah,
area
it's part of your
variances,
zoning
right,
code.
right, okay, yeah. No, I mean, I can see that because you get 4 cars, anytime the first car's all the way in, you gotta back 3 cars out. I remember my dad going through that when we all started trying to buy junker cars when we were kids, and, you had to get going, we had to get 3 cars moved out,
Sure.
so.
Is there a garage, or is that,
No.
so this structure that comes out by the driveway is basically the accessory housing?
That was an addition that was filed 4 years ago, that was constructed, and a C of O was issued for
Right.
that addition, and that is reflected in that bump out right there.
Okay.
So these additional pages, the layout, okay.
Yeah, it's the layout, and it shows, we confirm with the residential code that the work for that accessory apartment complies with the code, and
And
we would
this
be in full.
layout here, this floor plan that you're showing for the accessory apartment, that is in the front portion of the house here, that little bump out that we're looking at?
Yes. Mike, if you, the south corner would be the lower left-hand corner on page 8.
Okay, that's what I thought.
We orientated the plans the same. to make it consistent.
I mean, just an idea, you know, in the past where we've had applicants come in and we're looking for increases in the impervious area above the code, we had entertained ideas such as permeable pavements. You know, is that something that your client might look at as a mitigated measure for this additional coverage?
At 400 square feet, sure, absolutely.
All right. So the house is also on individual septic and well,
Correct.
and the septic field was originally built for a 4-bedroom house, and now it's,
Correct.
Is that something that the planning board has inquired about?
Yeah, we went through extensive, believe me, we're before you at the final moment of approval of this process. So yeah, we did the design calcs are in the upper right corner of Plan SP1. As you know, in designing septics, there's a window, you know, 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15. We were able to show that the existing septic field allows for 5 bedrooms, and it will satisfy and handle the load.
I see the calculations that you did based on the perk tests conducted in September of 2018. Was there a previous design for the parcel,
Yeah, it was,
the original?
yes. Lankin Tully had done a design. If you look at note 3 of 1 SP1, there was a design done by Lankin Tully as part of the Post Farms Estates. We could not find any details of that. The only document we could find is what's noted on our plan. 8 rows of 5.37 feet of height. And that was the only document available, and that's what we used as our guide.
And, well, I guess the planning board is looking at the sanitary system as well.
Yes.
And the planning board engineer is going to be
Yes.
reviewing that. So,
Actually, it has been.
okay. All right, does anybody have any further questions for Dave to cover?
No?
Okay, well, thank you for the explanation of the project and what you're looking to accomplish and what the variances are that you're pursuing. I guess our next step is to schedule this for a public hearing if we find all the paperwork is in order.
Yes, it is.
David, you know how long they've been in this house or owned the house?
Yes. 2013.
And you said that the accessory apartment is already existing?
Correct.
How long has that been existing?
Not,
Pre-existing then living there?
excuse me?
Pre-existing then living there?
No.
Okay.
No. It was subsequent to after their moving.
So you're saying that the interior renovations have already been done?
Yes.
Okay. See, and I thought this one was going in order of the usual, you know, permit before construction process.
I learned from David in the last one, that's a discussion I don't want to have because it's an argument I won't win. So let's just keep moving on.
Okay.
Well, presumably, the
Question.
approvals were given before the accessory apartment was built, correct?
Yeah, the physical structure was given approval.
Right.
It was asked to be an addition. And that was done on, I just had it here, it was in 2014. So that was built,
Mm-hmm.
and a C of O was issued.
Right.
After that event, I do not remember which part of the family, but an in-law had created that and moved and started living in that
Right.
portion of the house. And that portion of the house now becomes an accessory apartment.
Right, but the building of the accessory apartment was all approved, or was it approved as an addition, and then it was after made into an accessory apartment?
Correct. It was
And that never got approved to be an accessory apartment?
No. No, that's why we're here before we
Well,
were before the planning board.
But
and now
that,
before the
but are we
zoning
here
board.
for that, or for the variances of the two?
Well, no, the planning board's asking you to grant to review the variance of the lot area and
And
the
the
lot
lot
coverage.
coverage.
Yeah.
But there's no question before us about the fact that it's an accessory apartment was built in a building that,
But
No,
I guess there's a related question too. I mean, why did the planning board kick this back to us if one of the requirements for accessory apartments wasn't met? Like the owners have to occupy and own the whole property for 10 years.
For 10 years.
That
Why
waiver
is it
can be,
even-
that can be waived through the planning board if it is for an
So was it
elderly.
waived?
I believe so. We've been back and forth for so many months, I don't remember.
I just want to make
I
sure we're
don't
not
have my
spinning our
letter
wheels
from
like
Mike.
we're sitting
Do you
there
have a copy
hashing.
of the letter from Mike?
Yeah, actually, he was very precise in the last sentence. He says the planning board has no particular matters to bring to your attention, because everything else has been discussed.
And because this is
Quite,
now
okay.
considered, as a single family, the variances were fine because it's pre-existing, but because they made the accessory apartment, that's why the variances have to be granted.
I just feel like sometimes like we kick the can down the road. Like they want us to weigh in on these variances. But should we be weighing in on these variances before some of the issues surrounding? Like shouldn't there be a final determination, David, on whether they're going to approve an accessory apartment in the first place?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, it's, if you think about it,
Mike's letter was
sort of
sent. I don't have it.
akin to a subdivision
that's
approval
what I was
process.
It's been emailed to
Right, so
everybody.
an applicant might go to,
That's what I did.
would have to go to the planning board and start the process, and they might spend several meetings there at the planning board, and they talk about different iterations of the plan and things that might be within the purview of the planning board to tell them to do this, we want you to provide this, how about some screening over here? And then they get to the point where they say, all right, well, the plan looks okay to us informally right now, it looks like you've gotten far enough now, but it has less than required lot area, so if you want to proceed any further, you've got to go to the zoning board. And then they haven't approved it, but it's there, and they're in the middle of a process, and now it's here for the zoning board to look at, okay, what's the plan that's before us? We've got this body of work that's coming to us from the planning board.
Right.
It's not a finished product, but it's kind of been, it's in the process of being polished. How do we feel about granting that variance? This is sort of the same thing.
Okay.
Where I gather, I haven't been privy to any of the goings-on at the planning board on this, but I gather that the applicant's been there, and the accessory apartment law, section 57-44, it's pretty robust. As I'm sure you've all seen it, it's quite a body of work. And I'm assuming that the planning board is going to be looking at all the issues that are required.
I just want to
of
make
it.
sure that the responsibility isn't on us.
Well-
To weigh some of those factors.
Well, in regard to like the 10-year requirement, for example, and that's the one that you brought up, the planning board in the code is specifically and it's unusual, but it happens sometimes where the code will give the planning board the ability to waive, almost as though it's sitting as a zoning board, but not quite. But so in this instance, the code gives the planning board the ability to waive in certain circumstances the 10-year requirement. We don't know if they've waived it or not, but what that the letter, the way I read the letter, is saying that they're dealing with that, or that there's not, it's not as though, if they had a problem with it, or if there was some issue of the interpretation of it, like there was, for example, I think that was an issue that had arisen in the Romero application,
Right.
where there was some confusion over whether the applicant had complied with the 10-year requirement, or whether the planning board was waiving it, or what was the building inspector's interpretation of it, was he interpreting it the right way? And ultimately, I don't think that issue got to the board. There wasn't an application to review a determination of the building inspector or of the planning board. So I don't think that the 10-year issue is yet. It might still come to be, but I don't think it's yet before the board.
Right. But it's
Does that answer the question? I think maybe
No,
you're still looking at me like.
no. I
Okay,
just want,
when-
the guidance is I just want to make sure that
Yeah,
we're not the ones that need to weigh in on that and hold an applicant to it or not to the letter of that, right?
no, I don't think anything, the thing is, any zoning board, jurisdiction is limited. You're not gonna be granting the permit. You're not gonna be granting a building permit, you're not gonna be granting the special permit for the accessory apartment, if that's the way the code provides it as a special permit or whatever it is. You're not gonna be granting the use.
Right.
What's before you is this section, this tricky section on, it's A to B, where under the supplementary standards for an accessory apartment, a lot on which an accessory apartment is to be located shall meet all bulk requirements applicable to a single-family detached dwelling. And as the board went over in the Romero application, it really applies to whatever the now current bulk requirements are, even though had the applicant not wanted to do anything and not get approval for an accessory apartment, it wouldn't be conforming to the existing code because it was approved and it had a CO before the code. But that's okay, because it would be
Right.
pre-existing non-conforming.
Right.
But it's only now that they want approval for the accessory apartment where you say, okay, well, that was pre-existing non-conforming, but the code's pretty clear that you need to have,
Right.
the intent was that it shall meet all current bulk requirements. So that's the only issue right now that I think the planning board is sending to the
Right.
zoning board.
So what is before the planning board with this particular project? Are they currently looking for approval from the planning board for something?
Well, like I said, we started this back in March,
Right.
April of last year. We're at the end.
Right, but what is the planning board considering? Are they considering whether to approve this as an accessory apartment?
Yes,
Okay, so that's their purview, that's what they're doing.
and we,
Yes.
Because of the bulk issues, they're asking us to give the variances for the two considerations.
Right.
So once, if we do or don't approve that, then that'll get bounced back to the planning board.
If you don't approve it, then it's dead in the water,
Right,
because they cannot
Right.
approve it. They cannot issue the permit for the
It's not
accessory
meeting
apartment
all
use, because it will not have, the property will not be in
Right,
compliance
but
with
the-
current
the-
district bulk
right,
regulations.
but the approval of the accessory apartment use is the planning board's responsibility.
Right, it
Okay.
is, but it cannot be approved unless it's in
Understood.
compliance. So basically, they're saying,
Right,
hey, zoning board, is it okay if it doesn't totally comply?
right.
That's
Understood.
another way of putting it.
Yeah, we're just a small piece in the decision-making process for the planning board.
Okay, that's fine.
Because I was just looking at the deed for the property, and it's dated March 2016, so they've had the property for, just over 2 years, and in
No,
that time, they...
that was when, I believe, one of the members of the family sold their share to the remaining members of the family. Or, I don't know if sold is the right word, but relinquished their rights to that portion of the house or whatever. So you can see it's among the family. So the family that's there right now has been in the house since 2013 at least. And
Including well, I guess you said the accessory apartment was the conversion to an accessory apartment happened sometime after 2013.
Around 2017, I would imagine.
And since, after it was constructed, did somebody actually move in? Have they been occupying it since then?
The in-laws, yes.
Okay.
David, do you know, forgive me if we're backtracking a little bit, but were you saying that there hasn't been any improvements to the footprint of the house since its original construction? Or, now I'm remembering so that addition, that bump out here we see on the plan, there was a CO issued for that, and that was, do you recall how long ago they completed that?
Yeah, this,
I thought you said 2014 before.
yeah, 2014 was when it was built. The C of O had to be issued in 2014, no later than 2015.
Right.
What originally gave rise to the application? Was it were they given a violation by the building inspector?
Yes.
So it looks like our review's pretty narrow on this. I mean, that's what it seems like, given the planning board's
Right.
involvement.
I unfortunately did not see the planning board's referral letter. I don't have a copy of it.
Here, I've got it.
You got it? Thank you.
This sentence here, the planning board has no particular matters to bring to your attention. That sounds like, at least Mr. Donnelly's interpretation is that he's just looking for a call on these two variances.
Right, that's how I interpret that.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes the planning board can send make a referral over to the zoning board with either a negative recommendation, a neutral, or a positive, or none at all. Here, I'm interpreting that as, a neutral. Here you go, we're not, there's nothing in particular that we need you to take a look at other than these variances, and they're not saying one way or the other, look, we highly recommend that how we recommend them, or we recommend against them, or anything to that nature.
Consider
Basically,
this, yeah.
just let us know of your, how you view it.
Thank you. Okay, having gone through all the facts of this case that, as they've been presented to us, do we feel that this applicant is ready to be scheduled for a public hearing on this matter?
Yeah.
Would you like to make a motion to schedule a public hearing? Would this occur in February, or do you need more time to do the public notices?
Next month.
It would be next month?
Mm-hmm. Because what I'll do is I'll do the letter this week, get Dave to approve it, and then I get it to that
The other
Dave.
Dave.
The
And-
Daves have it.
And then he'll get the mailings out, because it just has to be 10 days before the next meeting. So
Okay.
a month is definitely plenty of time.
Have they approved, has the board
They have
approved
not gotten back
certificate
to me, and I
mailings?
didn't ask them. I will double check with them. I spoke to Mary Ellen.
It's
I will
becoming
bring-
it's becoming mainstay in the industry.
Mm.
If the board could consider that, it would be fantastic.
I'll see if
It
what
is
I
the
can do
same.
before we get this rolling.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No, you don't need a motion to schedule a public hearing, do we?
I think we typically do.
Oh, do we? I
Yeah.
can't remember.
I
Okay.
mean, you could do it with or without it. I mean, if we're here, we might as well do it with
Yeah,
it.
may as well.
All right, I move we schedule this for a public meeting for next month.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so
And next month's meeting is February 26th.
Scheduled it for that day, you know.
Who's watching it? Giants on it.
planning board has Valentine's Day, I heard about that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you for putting together such a complete application.
Yes. Actually, got it all there. Okay. So I should.
Dave, what is the reference?
So, Dave, Beckman?
No, the attorney
Yeah.
date. No, it gets
Right.
confusing.
Comparison.
Yeah, I think one of the main
Okay,
issues.
back to the agenda. Gomez. Okay, next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes.
Change August to April 24th, because that one was skipped. Please.
This was April.
24th, I forgot to change the date.
Oh, that's April?
What's that now?
The one that says August 28th should actually be April 24th. In going through my records, the April 24th was never approved.
Oh, mine does say April 24th.
Right, but on the agenda, it
Oh, on
says
the
August
agenda.
28th.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So the
All
first,
right, so
That one was
we
missed.
essentially have three sets of minutes here to approve. Looking at April 24th
December 25th, and,
and October 23rd.
right.
So, everybody need a couple of minutes just to read through them?
Yeah.
April 24th.
Oh, wow, I missed a couple of back my pay.
April, September, and October. All right, so this date.
It's a good question. It's come up a couple times.
Excuse me, Mike, just take the cloth off, otherwise it'll feed back if you hold the head. Now the mics are off.
I don't know how that works.
You gotta keep your finger on it.
You hold it down,
You just,
you hold it and it's mute.
Yeah.
Right, and then it won't come through, so you two can chat.
Or cough.
it's like the cone of
That's me.
silence.
Yeah. I've not seen any definitive case law on it recently, but the general rule is that if you have somebody that's an absent member, they're usually not allowed to vote on something unless they've done something to familiarize themselves. Like if it's on an application, for example, and then the person is absent for the first 3 hearings and then comes in on decision. And you say, okay, well, if you weren't here for the minutes, how could you approve them? How could you familiarize yourself with them to vote on that? And the answer is, you probably can't. There's no way unless you listen to the tapes. So if somebody went to the tapes and listened and or was watching it at home, then the answer is they could vote, in my view.
Okay,
But
well
if
then
you
that's
didn't-
probably why we have an issue with the 24th.
Right.
Because I never had enough people to vote for it here because Bob, Joe, and Mike were out. And then when people were here, I didn't have enough of a quorum, and I won't have a quorum tonight because I'll only have Peter and Seth. So I still don't have a quorum to vote, so these can get, they've already been posted, but they just can't, I can't get them approved if I don't have enough people. And I think that was one of the reasons why it kept getting pushed off.
Yeah.
Well,
They've already been posted to the website, So it was just a matter of getting a final approval.
Let's put it this way, I mean, I don't wanna put forward substance and procedure ahead of practicalities when it comes to just approving minutes, and, you know, is there anything, where's the,
This one has the Michael LaBaugh was approved
Yeah,
that night.
Michael
and
Bond,
just an approval, there's nothing else of any real substance, and there's no,
and then the,
No, he was scheduled for his public hearing,
Then-
and
the Nelsons.
Seven Springs was held over to the next month. And then the Nelsons got their public hearing. That was the only two things that night.
yeah, I mean, all those matters are done, and the time for any Article 7 needs is long past, so I don't think it's of any practical concern. I think in order to get it done, I would say you all can go ahead and vote if you
Okay.
if you feel like you can to get them done
Mhm.
in the books, so we have a complete set of
Right.
books as a practical matter.
Okay. So as chairman, you can vote.
Okay.
I mean, just as a note, everything on here for these minutes seems to coincide, you know,
Right.
agree with everything we talked about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know I was there, it all looks accurate to me,
Right.
for whatever that's worth.
And Seth, can you back that up too?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so I guess taking them one at a time, let's start with the oldest one, the minutes for the meeting of Tuesday, April 24th, 2018. Has the board had opportunity to read through these and we all understand?
Yep.
So you get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for April 24th.
Second.
Seconded by Seth. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So carried. Okay.
What's the next one?
Next one up is September 25th.
September 25th, which one's that?
Okay.
What is this?
This one does not have that same problem.
Right.
Oh, they're just saying we reviewed those,
Mhm.
okay.
I move, we approve the September 25th minutes.
Let me take a look through these.
Anybody want to second that motion?
I haven't had a chance to read them through.
Okay. That was the first one I read. It's nice and short.
Was this the public meeting of the, this was when we approved it, right?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Make the
Okay,
second.
Seconding the motion?
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nice.
Aye. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
For October.
And the final set of minutes are for the evening of Tuesday, October 23rd. If you'd like 2 minutes to read through those.
This was the right-of-way one, correct?
Yeah, that was,
Town?
that was the one, that was the condition.
Yeah.
It was a conditionally approved.
Oh, yes. Tower 21. And then that condition was resolved through the building department.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing this, let's see, under Tower 21, it states that, it says stated down, how many lines? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The seventh line down, it says stated in 1973. I guess that's a stamped approval?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll fix that.
I just, at first I thought it was attempted, and then I was like, oh,
You know,
stamped.
stamped. And provide should be fixed too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes my fingers go faster than they should.
What's that?
Doesn't have spell check.
Thanks, bro. Change the font size? Or if it's been Word docs?
I don't know, I can try. You want it bigger?
Yeah, bigger, because I can't read this, it's like 10 font.
Okay. I'll see, I don't know.
By
I've never
this time
tried.
of night, my eyes start going a little weak on me.
I will try.
So in this one, the first one, it got referred back to the building, the inspector, correct, didn't it?
Sherry Torah?
Yeah, no, the 21 Estates.
Sherry Tour was withdrawn.
Right, that was withdrawn. Yeah, 20, Tower 21.
Right.
There was a condition that they proved that they had rights of access over
Right.
the neighboring property for their driveway. They came back and they showed.
That they had, that-
They
yeah.
had rights of
But then,
access.
and then we talked about the building inspector, it then would go back to the building inspector to, because we were concerned that they weren't gonna have enough driveway space, remember?
Right.
Okay,
And
Bottom
I
line.
spoke to the building inspector after that, and he said he has not received a revised site plan. The site plan he has wasn't even the last site plan that we reviewed.
Okay.
So they have not been back to him for building application.
got it.
Since,
But we don't have any responsibility to check up on that.
no, we
Yeah.
pointed it out to his attention that
Got it.
they need to have adequate parking on site. He says if they don't, he'll send it back here for a parking issue.
Okay. And then the other one was the roof over the patio, and it's saying variance granted with the condition I believe was what, that they're not gonna enclose that? I think that's what it is,
Yes.
okay.
Have we in the past included the conditions in the minutes? Or don't we get into that level of detail?
It should be. It should be listed, and then what we do is we have the resolution that I draft
To bear it out.
to bear it out, and so that's gonna contain it. So you have, the resolution is gonna cover it, but we should probably have a little
I
bit
will add
more.
it, yeah, I'll add it on.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that way it shows it was in front of the public.
I might add it.
That-
Right.
That's how the conditions came out, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, so we can make that a practice going forward, that when things are approved with conditions, we list the conditions in the
That is fine.
minutes in shorthand. It doesn't have to explain
Right.
the whole thing, but just enough to know that there's something there, and then we can refer back to the
Right,
resolution.
that's fine.
for complete
I can add that
dialogue.
in.
That's
I'll add
great.
it into this one before I post it. So we'll just need the motion on it.
All right, so after going through the minutes for the meeting of Tuesday, October 23rd, 2018, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
With the corrections noted,
With the
as noted on the record.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for October 23rd.
Second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay.
November's not here.
November's on there,
We're not.
so.
Let's go for next month.
Okay. And if anybody has any further matters to discuss, now would be the time,
We have things to discuss after.
after the meeting. Okay, so if nobody has anything further for the record tonight, then, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done by 8:20.